Hello Dungeon Delvers, and welcome to the Dungeon Directory, your source for all guides D&D, and today we're going to be discussing my top 5 favorite plot hooks. Plot hooks are one of the most important pieces to your campaign. It's the thing that begins your quest, your player's first real introduction to a journey that could span on for years. Your plot hook is your campaign's first impression, so it's critical that yours hits the right notes. So, without further ado, let's delve right in. Number 1 is the Heist, one of my favorite plot hooks because it's such a versatile event. The Heist starts off with your players being hired as extra security for a gallery, which is ready to reveal its newest addition. It could be an art gallery revealing the new works of a world-renowned painter, a blacksmith's guild revealing a reforged blade from the tales of old, or maybe a menagerie putting a rare and valuable crystal leopard cub on display. Regardless of what you pick, just make sure that your item is rare, valuable, and your players are being paid handsomely to keep it safe. However, things aren't going to go quite as planned. As the owner of the exhibit grasps the sheet covering the new item and pulls it back, a thick fog emerges from under, filling the room. And after a moment when the fog begins to clear, the owner looks up in horror, seeing the relic missing, replaced by a long, dangling rope from one of the skylights above, and at the top a large creature making its escape, relic in hand. This is a really cool plot hook because it's a really handy way to get a group of players who have nothing in common to group up and work together. It's not something that the players can ignore, because trust me, if you're offering gold for the item's safety, they'll chase it. So once your players have begun their pursuit, there's lots of different ways that your story can go. If your party likes combat, then once they arrive on the roof, they get ambushed by a second set of creatures that cover the fleeing culprit's escape. After felling the ambushers, they look around to see that the culprit has escaped. However, on the two creatures that ambushed them, they find notes and symbols, pointing towards one of the noble families in the city. If your party like to roleplay, then once they arrive on the roof, the creature is gone, but a group of witnesses on the ground saw it making its escape, and will give the party tips to help them find where the creature is going, and where they might be able to find more information. Number 2 is going to be the Unwelcome Patrons. This plot hook starts in an establishment. It could be a tavern or a shop or a guild, anywhere where the players would feel safe and also be outnumbered. As your players casually enjoy the establishment, the keener of them might notice some odd behaviors. One of the workers moves to lock the door, and another the windows. And any player with a strong perception may notice people in the building looking nervous or tense, shooting glances at the party. Before the players have a chance to react, roll for initiative. After the fight, the players find a note with instructions on where to be taken after they're captured. This is a great plot hook because it leaves so many questions. Why did the other patrons in the establishment attack them? Who set up the attack? And are there more people in the city after them? Once your players have a location that they might find whoever did this, they'll be all over it in no time. Number 3 is going to be a plea from the Peasants. This is one for the role-playing groups. Your players, living in various small towns dotted around the province, which is ruled by a cruel businessman. He set into motion a new bill that will raise taxes on the villages and small towns by 400%, while simultaneously reducing access to subsidies. The villages all send forth representatives to oppose the bill, these representatives being your players. Your players will need to try to convince as many members of the city council as possible through clever barters and running errands and blackmail. I love this plot hook because it leaves your players with a huge open end. They could really go any way that they'd like. They can take the shady route of sabotage and espionage, or the wholesome route of winning the people's favor, and it's a really great alternative to just throwing your players right into combat. Speaking of throwing your players right into combat, number 4 is the Phantoms. It starts in any kind of lodging, like a hotel or a tavern, and as the players sleep in their rooms, they're suddenly woken by a bone-chilling scream. As the players, now alert, assess their surroundings, they see a tall shadow standing in their rooms, looming over them. Roll for initiative. After a round or two of combat, the second scream echoes down the hall, and the shadow sinks down into the floor before slipping down the hall towards the noise. If the players chase the shadow to the end of the hall, they'll watch the shadow slip under the last door, and as the players breach the room, they find a woman laying on the floor in the middle of a pentagram with a knife sticking out of her chest. She seems unconscious and bleeding, but alive. This is a really great plot hook because who doesn't love a good cult mystery? The players will most assuredly attempt to heal the woman, and once she comes to, she reveals herself as the daughter of a wealthy noble, and offers gold and titles if the party can figure out who attempted to sacrifice her, and deal with them. Number 5 is the Bounty Board. The last plot hook on this list is about putting the world against your players. It takes place after a villain has committed a horrible deed in a city, and as your individual players rest at a town's lodging, the door swings open, ushering in a group of 3 to 5 guards, led by a guard captain. The captain holds out a handful of wanted persons posters, and declares that anyone who helps find the wanted people will be rewarded handsomely, as the culprits are heinous and responsible for the deed mentioned earlier. The twist is that the wanted posters all have sketches of the players. They've been framed. Once the players either escape the guards or fend them off, they're left sneaking through the city as wanted people, trying to clear their names. This plot hook is unique because the real threat the players are in. They can't fight all the guards in the city, and they can't rely on NPCs who might turn them in, especially because the city's people all think the NPCs are responsible. So what they do? Well, that's up to them. Any one of these plot hooks will get your players' attention and get them ready to dive in deep, investing into your story. If none of these quite properly fit what you're looking for, then feel free to tweak any of them however you might like to fit your setting or group better. Well, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this topic, it'd be a huge help if you considered liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more weekly D&D content. If you had a topic that you wanted me to cover, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.